legends where magic meets the heart. Commander's Pod, where the stories unfold, with heroes and villains new and old. Duncan, Jeff, and Sloan got the word. In the world of EDH we play.
Hello everyone, welcome to Commander's Pod. Once again, I'm your Podfather, Duncan.
I'm Sloan.
And I'm Jeff.
And today we're going to talk about common deck building mistakes that you need to avoid.
So not us, just them?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we embrace our mistakes.
Do we? Okay.
Yeah,
Good to know.
I guess that's one way of saying it, yeah.
we run headlong into our mistakes.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yes.
Think is the,
No, but sometimes, you build a new deck, or especially if you're new to building decks, you build a deck, you think this is going to run pretty good, and then you get out in the wild and it's not what you thought it was going to do.
Right.
Doesn't run you can't make it work. So these are some ideas for what might be causing that, or how to make it can't just get over, like it plays, but you can't win.
Right.
So anyway, just some ideas.
This is something that happens a lot too when there's new commanders that are coming out with a new set, which we just experienced with pre-release this weekend, and by the time this comes out, actual release of Final Fantasy
Will be tomorrow.
So, a lot of people are going to start building these decks because they got new abilities that are cool, and you're going to see they might overwhelm or overload it with certain things, and that's what we're going to try to help you figure out. So that way your Final Fantasy deck can combo off on turn 2 with Vivi.
And sometimes I know I bought a deck off of someone that was an Uro Titan of Nature's Wrath that made a lot of changes to it. But a lot of the cards they had in the deck I needed, so I bought what cards they had because they're like, this deck doesn't work. It's a landfall deck, but they wanted to do something different. They couldn't get it to work. And it was just making some of these changes that made the deck work, and you guys have played it. It definitely works.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just need to make little tweaks.
Yep. Basically, we're going to teach you how to unlock the secrets to building a commander deck that won't spin its wheels.
And finding the girl of your dreams.
No, we had to cut that. We didn't have enough time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep.
Also,
We stuck with the important
maybe
topic.
we're not qualified for that.
We're also going to have
We're all married.
Go figure. Know how that happened.
Right.
dowries.
There is. How many pigs did yours cost?
I'm not saying that on camera.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not a good thing for my wife.
We will also have Angry Podfather this week. Angry Jeff has been bumped out for Angry Podfather.
I'm not that angry. Things are going pretty good.
Yeah. And Podfather's angry. Got any tips for us this week?
Yeah, we're going to have some deck building tips. If we don't hit them in the actual main chunk, I'll hit a couple of smaller things that I think I've seen people talk about, and it's something that sometimes no one really brings up, and I think it's really important for deck building. So I got a couple of pro tips at the end for deck building.
Cool. So let's get into Aggro Podfather.
Oh, boy.
We're going to talk about Secret Merde.
Okay. So
Excuse my French.
literally. I know you do the editing, but we're gonna put a rainy scene behind us. We're gonna do violin music very low, so that way.
I love how he says "we." It's just things Duncan has to do.
I know. I'm saying this as I'm the creator. I'm the supervisor.
Are you now?
I'm
Okay.
watching it be done.
Okay. He's the visual supervisor.
That's right.
For this episode.
That's right. All right.
Okay.
It's just words that say there is no rain. I was tired.
Secret Merde, or as they like to call themselves, Secret Lair. So today, as we record this, was the Secret Lair drop, the Frank Frazetta drop. Basically, they called it the Summer Super Drop 2025. There was a lot of stuff to be excited about. Mm-hmm. There was a Consecrated Sphinx in one of the drops. Cyclonic Rift was in one of the drops. There were 3 different Final Fantasy drops in English and 3 different Final Fantasy drops in Japanese.
Right.
There was the Frank Frazetta drop and another artist drop, and
most of the art looked really good.
yeah, I mean the Frank Frazetta art was so good.
So good, yeah.
And so first of all, spoiler alert, that was not the biggest one. That I haven't looked right now, but it hadn't sold out as of like 4 p.m.
Final
Eastern.
Fantasy did though?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Final Fantasy was sold out almost immediately.
So Final Fantasy was selling out. The one with Cyclonic Rift was still left, but only in America.
Okay.
Was the foil left, and I think they were getting low.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All the other 2 were gone.
Gotcha.
So,
So the Japanese ones sold out the fastest?
no, there was still Japanese. I'm saying in English.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And some people like the Japanese for the Japanese. Some people are going to end up getting the Japanese because they couldn't get the English.
Well, just remember, we did that deck where I had all the Japanese cards. It's the worst. Don't do it.
Yeah.
It's
It
so
is really tough.
confusing.
You
Don't-
forget what it
It
is.
seems cool until you actually try to do it. It doesn't work.
But anyway, so I got on I started at 11:30. I had it queued up,
Right.
was signed in,
Right.
ready to go on the page with the first product I want to add. I added that product right as it opened. I had to move the quantity to 5. I was buying 5 of that one. I did not buy any bundles, so I was not scooping everything up. I was being very polite and only taking what I wanted. I wanted the Grimoire and I wanted the Frank Frazetta, and I put 5 of each of those foil in my cart and went to checkout. Took about 10 seconds. Probably by the time I did everything, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, 20, 25 seconds, right?
Sure.
Over an hour to check out.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
gets
We're
worse.
right back to where we were.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say anything till you get done because,
It wasn't even an hour, though. It was longer than that. You're
It was
burying the
over.
lead.
I said it was
What? I
I
over
thought
an
it was
hour.
like 2 hours.
Well, so it said, but it doesn't tell
doesn't
you
tell
that.
you
Remember,
that.
it only says you'll wait over an hour.
But you
So
ended up
I'm-
waiting more, right?
Oh, many more than 2.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, here we go. Now, first of all, I think the allowing 5 was their first mistake. They had been doing 3 on some of them. I think
Right.
they had done 2 on one. The 5 limit is too much. I even got 5 this time, and I'm saying if they had put 3, I would have understood.
right.
But I think that leads to these problems because if you do 3, anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But
No, this is aggro. You don't.
well, no, I'm
ignore the
saying, but
things that
that's like
aggravate you.
aggro adjacent. Like that's
Oh, okay.
But I do think that was one of their mistakes.
Right.
But as I'm waiting, an hour passes. My guy has moved like 1/5, no, not even 1/10 of the way, and it still says over an hour.
And he means this little walking dude that tells him how long until he
Yeah.
gets to the cart.
Yeah, my little dude.
Yeah.
And it just kept going. And so finally at 3, like 10 minutes to 3, it actually had me down to like 48 minutes. Actually, that time's off. But at the 2:30, say it had me at 45 minutes. And then I got down to 8 minutes at right around 3 o'clock. And then it got down
So
to 4.
That's about 3 hours.
Yep, 3 hours. Got down to 4 minutes. I'm like, all right, here we go. Goes back up to 7. And then the man stops moving and it says the line is paused. And that 4 to 7 to that was less than a minute total. So I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So while that's happening, of course, everybody's trying to figure out what happened. Come to find out, somehow people were sharing the links to their queue, to the website, like the website, the link.
Yep.
If you shared that, it allowed somebody to get into the same queue as you
Wow.
with a different card.
That's messed up.
But apparently, if you look out there, there are screenshots and people prove this.
Yeah.
They're saying it was confirmed. They have evidence.
Which is somewhat on Wizards, Hasbro, but a lot on people doing that. Like,
No.
why are you doing that?
Right, and Wizards never, ever, ever acknowledges this. What they said is some people are having troubles checking out with a credit card. We're going to try and fix this.
Well, it's possible they couldn't confirm yet what was really going on. Because it's one thing to hear the hearsay and see the quote-unquote evidence, but until you've confirmed it, you really probably shouldn't come out and say
But
something.
they never confirm it. All the
Right.
problems that happened before that were people figured out and had proof of, they never confirm it.
Because the cat was out of the bag. What were they going to say? Yep, those people are telling the truth.
But anyway, it took them an hour to fix the site, over an hour.
That's wild. I didn't buy this time, and I'm really glad I didn't because I did not have time to go through all that.
So, but even then, I wasn't done. I get to my turn, and at this point, there are already things that are sold out. 2 of the 3, one of the 3 was totally sold out in America. The second of the 3 was sold out in the non-foil, and it said low stock on the foil. And the one I wanted just didn't say anything. It was just normal stock or whatever. It probably was low, but not as low enough to put low stock. So I texted some of my friends that were further back in line. I said, I'll add a couple of these too there for you. And they said, okay. So I added one of the weapon foils, and I added a Japanese of the other one that sold out. I think they call it Game Over.
Yeah.
And go to check out, and it says, error, please try again. I mean, there was a little more wordy, but basically said, we encountered an error, please try again in a few moments.
Right.
Tried it again, same thing. Tried it again, same thing. Tried it again, same thing. Okay, I was using Google Pay. Try credit card. Tried again, same thing. Tried again, same thing. Tried again, same thing. Tried again, same thing. I'm like, oh my word. So I had seen a link where they said for those people that were having problems checking out,
Right.
you have to go, it's a mile-long form that you have to fill out to get in contact with them. How are you supposed to do that? You have 10 minutes to check out. So I'm frantically filling that out and bouncing back to the other screen. Then it pops up that the weapon one I had put in my cart for somebody else, sold out. Well, yeah, it wasn't sold out when I started trying to check out.
Right.
So, but whatever. I'm like, okay, I'll try it again. Maybe that had something to do with it. I tried again, and it thought, and then it went through. But so by the time I was done, 4 hours and like 15 minutes
Yeah.
to check out. And they had run out of most of the stuff because of the 5 limit. If they had not done the 5 limit, maybe it would take all day, but other people would get a chance to have some.
Right.
It's just ridiculous. We're right back to where we were, right back to shenanigans with the website because they don't have a legitimate, concrete, secure checkout system that can't be manipulated.
Right.
You know, they haven't done anything. All those fixes that we thought, oh, look, no, they learned their lesson. They put their limits down. Nope, back up.
Yeah. Yeah, so taking a look at the secret layer. So this is, we're sitting at about 530, 535. Weapon Japanese Final Fantasy sold out. English foil edition sold out. English regular weapons sold out. Grimoire sold out. I mean, like, all the Final Fantasy stuff is gone. The bundles are sold out.
The bundles were sold out within like an hour.
Yeah, I mean...
What's still available?
So available, you still have the foil and non-foil art of Frank Frazetta.
Which is crazy because the first one of that was released in March, which I don't think had as good cards, is selling right now for $255.
Yeah, so those are still available. The Japanese foil edition Final Fantasy weapons is still available as of right now. And then you have the Grimoire Japanese foil edition, the regular Grimoire Japanese edition.
So there's some stuff if you just don't want to buy it.
There is some stuff available.
And Japanese.
It's all Japanese, though. There's not, like, a lot of English stuff. And then the Artist Series Phil Foglio.
Which is the one that had, it's kind of cool. It's Japanese with English.
Okay. And then
that's the one that has Consecrated Sphinx.
Okay. And then there's Amiri Sakabashira. His are available.
Yeah.
So basically all of the Final Fantasy short, except the Japanese basically editions of everything is sold out.
And even some of the Japanese.
I think what's tough here is like there are people that are collectors that want to get the stuff, you know, that aren't going to be able to get it or can't get their hands on it or have to pay double or triple what it costs now because they couldn't sign on at this specific time. Mm-hmm. But if I can just tell people, like, at the end of the day, the Frank one I could probably still go on and buy if I want, and I might do that. Mm-hmm. The Final Fantasy ones, I really just wanted them for Cyclonic Rift and for...
Damn.
No, and then there's another one that had...
it was
Consecrated Sphinx.
That wasn't Final Fantasy.
No, it was a different one.
Yeah, and that one's still available.
That's still available. So I can go buy those. But I could also just go buy Consecrated Sphinx. And I could just go buy... You know... You're gonna live if you don't have these cards. What they prey on as a, you know, when when they're not following their better angels, they're preying on our desire to have what others have, the keeping up with the Joneses. But you don't have to do it. You'll be fine if you show up to game without these specific cards. There are bajillions of cards. There are plenty of replacements for these, and you'll be fine.
Here's the thing. So Taylor, that was on the podcast last week,
Yep.
he also got on right at noon, but he was buying one bundle.
Right.
So because he only had one thing to add to cart, and all he had to do was click add to cart, checkout.
Seconds matter.
He checked out within 48 minutes, was done.
Yeah.
Walked away. Not even an hour.
Now, don't forget, although I'm saying you can live without these things, that doesn't take away the responsibility of Wizards and Hasbro and all of them to do a better job. This is part of the reason why I didn't do this is I just didn't have time for the frustration of this today. Frankly, I was just too busy. And so, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is honestly, this is, again, kind of the legitimate frustration of people who do care about this, right? And they did want to be a part of this and get it, that aren't going to get it now, and they're going to get gouged secondhand for wanting something that they love and care about. Like, I get that. That's definitely frustrating. That's extremely irritating that, you try doing everything you're supposed to do, and once again, there's a system that's flawed that doesn't seem to be getting addressed by the people who own it and run it. And they're allowing these people to keep finding backdoors into their system or potentially finding backdoors into their system that are ruining it for everybody else who's doing it the way you're supposed to do. And to me, that's my biggest frustration. I personally, again, I'm not a huge Final Fantasy fan. I've never played one of the games before. I've only ever seen people play it.
I didn't know that. I thought you were a fan.
No, I mean, I'm just a fan by
News
default
to me.
because Taylor always tells me about it. So I feel like I've played the games.
Okay. Yeah, I've never played one of the games either, and I could care less.
And so I'm not a huge fan of any of these cards in particular in regards to the art styles or desiring to want it. But coming from someone that does try to do things always the right way, the way you're supposed to do it, I could definitely see the irritation and frustration where you're finding out people are backdooring the system and getting ahead of you, and they shouldn't be. So I would say, yeah, absolutely. Wizards, you need to figure this out. It is not okay for you to treat your customers with a 5-hour delay, and then they can't purchase the items that were in their cart that they're trying to purchase because then there's an issue with the credit card running, and it's just
video games deal with this, right? Video games deal with cheaters all the time, but they protect themselves. Sometimes the really good video games do a good job of finding out who is cheating, and they ban them.
Right.
And to the point where, the little buttons where you have to choose, bicycle 5 times?
Right.
Those were designed for those reasons because what they figured out was computers kind of go in a straight line and people don't.
Yeah.
So they were able to find the cheaters by simply putting things in their path, and computers wouldn't go around them and people would.
Right.
And so, but they would ban people. Maybe what Wizards needs to do here is when you're caught doing this type of stuff, you should be banned. Just ban them. Don't let them buy from you again. Yeah, they can create another account. Yeah, they can do it another way. But then if you catch their name on the credit card number, cancel their order.
Here's the thing.
Cancel
I
it.
don't think they're trying to catch them.
I don't think they are either, but they should be.
Yeah, and I think that's the sad part is the people are bringing this up. They're saying, hey, there is a flaw in your system. Oh, we're really sorry about that. We'll look into it.
No, they don't even say that.
And then it's just
They don't even acknowledge it.
Well, today they said that we're sorry. There's an issue with people checking out their credit card, is what they said, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to fix it. But I mean,
no, they didn't say. They never used the words "we're sorry."
No.
We said it said basically, we have heard reports that people were having problems.
Yeah.
We are looking into it. That's all they said.
Right, but do we know for sure that after the last issues they didn't come out and issue some sort of apology? Or
I looked pretty heavily. I didn't find it. If they did, they were pretty quiet
but
about
even
it.
if they did,
they secret layered their apology.
But even if they did, words are cheap and actions are better. So
Yeah.
they need to you need to become a little bit more aggressive. And the problem is they're going to end up banning some big stores. Because I guarantee you there are some stores out there that are having 5 or 6 people log in at the same time and ordering multiples of these things and using the cheats. And they're like, we don't want to lose that type of big whale customer. But you need to do something. This is ridiculous.
They make it easy for them, too, because there was the Super Everything bundle with the foil and non-foil versions of everything offered, Japanese and English. Then there was the English-only bundle with everything just in English. Then there was the just secret lair. So you could buy 5 of each of those.
Yeah, and there's no reason to have 5 of those.
No.
That's wild.
Yeah, if you buy
It's
5
only
of the
resale.
Super Everything bundle, then you shouldn't be able to add any of the individuals into your cart.
It's just resale. They're just reselling.
Yeah.
Right. That's it. That's the only thing they're doing.
And if that's what Magic wants,
Then just sell it
create
to
a
them.
ridiculous resale market and
But just sell them to them. The stores are saying, please let us sell these.
yeah.
Yeah, that is insane. That especially with how they announced that they were going to do it with Deadpool, make that secret layer sent to stores as a non-foil edition. Like, I wonder, like, why didn't they do that with this? Why didn't they send non-foil editions to the stores and just make the online foil only? Because that does two things, right? That would keep people from being able to go in there and, like you said, buy 5 of each, including the bundle, right? The super bundle. And then also it drives people to those local stores. They're going to sell, especially the Final Fantasy ones. I mean, they knew Final Fantasy was going to sell out just from the pre-orders.
So
Part of it is this. I told Duncan earlier that part of the reason why they're doing 5 is because they're trying to create urgency. So in sales, one of the things you want to do is create urgency.
Right.
Now, some people will do that with negative processes like, oh, there's something to be afraid of or something to be scared of, so you need to do this thing. Some people will use discounts, right? Hey, this discount is good for this amount of time.
Right.
That's creating an urgency. There's not necessarily anything wrong with that, but creating urgency this way is really good for them because all the people that missed this one and all the people that are hearing about the people that missed one, they're incentivized on the other ones to go in and buy it because there's an urgency to buy. It's rare. It moves fast. It creates this persona where they can sell off garbage because of what they're creating in this drop.
Right.
And so what I'm encouraging people to do is just be smarter than that. Just don't buy into that. Maybe don't buy every secret layer.
Right.
So
I will say this. I have learned something that I want to pass on to you guys. If you are going to do this, if you are going to play this game and you have the hours to wait to check out, don't add everything you want to your cart. Add one thing, go to checkout right away. Just go. Because afterwards you can still add things to your cart.
you can adjust it accordingly, yeah.
And you
it
still
doesn't
keep
matter.
your point and queue.
Right. The other thing is have a podcast where when it doesn't go well, you can come on and complain and get it off your chest.
Right, because it doesn't do any good for getting cards, but it does good for
It's
getting
good for
it
the
up.
soul.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I know why Jeff complains so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're going to have a quick, that doesn't do what you think it does. And I didn't realize people didn't know what it did. So there's been a lot. There's a card in the set, and I don't remember the card. I'm going to use a different example.
Right.
But there's a card in the set that people are like, wait, this says I can cast a sorcery, but this is immediately, so doesn't that make it at instant speed? Yeah, it does. There are cards that let you cast cards at out of timing.
Right.
Like, at a time that you normally wouldn't be able to. One that I use all the time is Gale's Redirection. It's 3 and 2 blue, exile target spell, then roll a d20 and add that spell's mana value. And then, so 1 through 14, you may cast the exiled card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast that spell. Now, that wording says as long as it remains exiled. It gives a
Right.
time limit.
Right.
So that does not break the wording.
Right.
Okay? I actually chose the wrong card. I don't remember. But there are cards that say, and it'll say one paragraph, and it'll say something like counter a spell, and you may cast that spell without paying its mana cost. or
Right.
Using mana of any color. If it doesn't say until end of turn, as long as it remains exiled, anything like that, if there's no, then it's right then and only then. A tally is actually a good example.
Right. So that's what I was going to bring up. Cascade. So Cascade is one of these effects that does that, because what Cascade says specifically is when you cast this spell, the spell with Cascade, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card that costs less. You may cast that without paying its mana cost. Put the exiled cards on the bottom of your library in a random order. So if you were to cast something that has Cascade at instant speed, you then begin to Cascade, and then as soon as you hit something that you can cast via the Cascade mechanic, which is less CMC value than the card that has Cascade, you can then choose to cast it in that exact
Whether
moment.
it's an artifact, a
Yep,
creature, a sorcery,
because
it
it's
doesn't care.
because this card is forcing you and saying you can cast it now if you want to, otherwise it will go on the bottom of your. It doesn't have some kind of time restraint. The opposite of that is Villainous Wealth. So Villainous Wealth says it's a sorcery. Target opponent exiles the top X cards of their library. You may cast any number of spells with mana value X or less, where X is the amount of mana paid to all of the mana cost of the cards. So you put X into Villainous Wealth. Let's say you put 10. So 10 green, black, blue. Any card that's 10 or less out of the top 10 cards you can cast without having to pay its mana cost.
And right then.
So now this is a sorcery. So you can only cast this, generally speaking, on your turn.
Right. But the spells you get off it, that doesn't say till end of turn, right? Or as long as they remain exiled?
You may, you may cast any number of spells with mana value X or less from among them without paying their mana's cost.
Since there is no, you can't wait to cast it. You can't be like, all right, I'm going to cast that after my combat. No, it's right then.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter. Artifact, creature, enchantment, all of it, right then at instant speed.
Yeah, so this is one that does, now this is a sorcery, so unless you have a tricky way of being able to cast on someone else's turn, you're really only ever going to cast this on your turn. But, these are cards that force the...
Well, if you cascade into that. Well, you can't cascade
it would be
into
zero.
X, yeah.
Yeah, it would be zero. Yeah, it would suck.
Sadly.
Yeah, because then you get to exile 0. But, those are cards that force the breaking of the time mechanics.
Well, if you copied that on the stack from somebody else,
Sure.
you get
Yes,
their X.
that would work.
Yeah, you can
That
get
would
their
work.
X, yeah.
Now you have it at instant speed.
There you go.
Yep. So that's how that works. There are cards that will break the timing restrictions, and it's going to have a lack of terms on when you can cast a spell. It's going to basically be telling you have to cast it right now, which means if you meet all the requirements and it's a non-instant speed spell, you can still cast it.
Right.
So, like I said, I didn't realize a lot of people didn't know that, but apparently a lot of people didn't know that.
Well, this game is extremely confusing.
No, and that's true. And if you've never played any of those cards,
Furthermore, if you're only now recently getting into Magic because of Final Fantasy, you probably also have no idea what we're talking about.
or if you haven't played in a long time and now you're getting into it.
Yeah, very true.
All right. So, common commander deck building mistakes.
Yes.
First one I was going to bring up is not enough focus. Like you have a commander has a very specific thing it works around. Like let's say soldiers, right?
Right.
Let's
I'm
use
glad
that
you
as
said
an-
soldiers. I was thinking
I know.
soldiers.
Yeah. So let's pretend it's this Colonel Mustard, the soldier commander.
Commander Mustard, my man,
Yeah.
doing the Lord's work.
And when you're done building your deck, you don't think about it. But I've seen where people go, oh yeah, it's a soldier deck. And you go through their deck, you're like, you have like 6 soldiers in there.
Right. So I have a buddy I play with online, and he has this issue. He has a rat deck. It's supposed to have a bunch of rats in it, specifically rat colony. He has a total of 15 creatures in the entire deck, and it's a rat deck, and he has 6 rat colonies. Now, granted, a little bit of that is just he's like, I don't want to go spend more money to go buy a bunch more cards. But it's just funny because it's like he's like, man, I never hit rats off my commander's trigger. It's like, yeah, you don't have enough rats, you don't have enough creatures.
And I'm sure
you should have
of
like
those
30 creatures.
Of those 15, I'm sure some of them are like that ogre that makes rats. And
Yeah, like a couple of them are ones that they aren't rats, they just make rats. And so with the soldier deck specifically, one of the things that I do see when people have a tribal or type or whatever you want to call it, deck like this is they start off and they say, oh, this is a soldier deck. Oh, well, I want to boost my soldiers, or my commander, for example, Commander Mustard specifically boosts your soldiers. It gives them vigilance, haste, all your soldier creatures have. So you can attack immediately. So it's like, oh, great, I wanted them to be big, so let me put making my stuff bigger. Well, now I'm making my stuff bigger, I want to make them twice as big. Or now I want to do life gaining since they're so big now. And so you very slowly go from being, I'm going to focus on my soldiers, and then just the pool.
Oh, I want equipment.
Yeah,
so they can all have equipment, so they can all do stuff.
You also need to understand, like those kindred decks. There are kindred decks that go wide, and there are kindred decks that go big. So
Right.
you do have to, within your focus, you have to understand. Okay, great. So I'm building a dragon deck. What do dragons do? And to give you an idea, it's like you could have dragons and you could have dinosaurs. Well, there's differences between those two things.
Right.
For instance, how many times does the word legendary appear on a dinosaur versus a dragon? Well, that might affect some of the cards you play in it because they run differently. And dragons do different things than dinosaurs. So you have to build around it differently. You can't just throw all the dinosaurs and dragons in there. Your support cards need to meet the requirement of that particular kindred focus.
Yeah, I mean, really, whatever your focus is of the deck. So like Duncan said, a lot of times what happens is you pull this commander, like Commander Mustard, and you put him out there and you say, okay, well, he gives vigilance and haste to my other soldiers, he's white-red. He has vigilance himself. He's a 5/5. And very slowly you can go from being, I'm going to put some soldiers in here that's supportive, to you have like 75 different things going on and not enough of any one thing to really support what you want to do.
I've also seen where it's not even, you're like, I need, this commander is very important to this deck, so I need to protect him. So I'm going to put Lightning Greaves, I'm going to put Swiftfoot Boots, I'm going to put the Lava Spur Boots, I'm going to put the
all these
Haunted
protection
Cloak,
pieces.
I'm going to put all these things, Whisper Silk Cloak, and just all of a sudden, you have like 15 cards in your deck that are built to defend, to protect your commander.
Right, and again, not just not enough focus, but within those ideas, what you're talking about is a wrong focus. You're protecting your commander. Maybe the commander can die and you can still do your thing and you'll
Just
be
cast
fine.
him again.
Well, or once he does what he needs you to do to get going, and you keep going from there. Yeah. Like if you're a spell slinger deck, you're like, okay, I just got to add spells. Great. No, you have to add the right spells. Is your spell slinger deck a low mana cost spell slinger deck that casts a lot of spells? Well, then you need support cards that deal damage when you cast spells. Is it a big spell deck where you're slinging spells but bigger spells? When are you slinging the spells? At instant speed, at sorcery speed? What are your support things for that? You have to ask a lot of questions about what you're actually trying to do within your focus so you can add the right cards to accomplish it.
So that's a good point. And one of the things that brought up that is also still in the not enough focus, right? Let's say you have a Storm deck.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I have seen people with a Storm deck, and I'm like, well, why do you have that card in there? It's like there's a card that's a single blue mana, target creature gets -4/-0 to end of turn, right? Something like that. And you're like, I mean, based on the other pieces in here, it doesn't do a lot.
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe you have something specific but you don't have any other cards in your whole deck that do that. Why do you have that card? Well, I just wanted the 1 mana cost spell.
Right.
I want to have a lot of low cost. Don't cast spells just for the sake of, they should all mean something. You may want 1 mana spells, but there are plenty that say maybe something that you don't care about, but maybe it also says draw a card.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was
Because
my
now
point.
you're getting a spell, even if you don't care about the ability, it puts another card in your hand.
Right,
Your storm count's now 1.
Yeah, so
but
it's
you
a
replace
cantrip
it.
when a card replaces itself. It
Right.
doesn't really, it's not a draw, it's a draw, but it's just a replacement effect. You're casting, you get a new card.
Right. And so I think what happens is a lot of times people, for this first point of not enough focus, is you have to remember ultimately when it all comes back to is how am I supposed to win with this deck? Like what is my, here is what I'm trying to get to end the game for myself. And I feel like a lot of times that's what ends up happening is you're focusing so much on the support cards or protection cards or defensive cards or offensive cards that you're kind of forgetting, well,
What's the point?
Yeah, what's the actual point of the deck?
A good example is like my Reese the Redeemed deck, right? Everybody's like, you have an elf deck. And I'm like, it's not an elf deck. It's a token deck. That's what I've chosen to go with it. So I have lots of things that just generate tokens. I don't care what type of token it is. I don't care if it's an elf or not. Now, you could build that deck as an elf token deck, but you don't have to. But decide what you're doing, and then you got to lean into that.
And don't do half of one and half of the other.
Yeah, that's very difficult to do.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways you can have not enough focus, but that is a big problem that I see that some people have with some of their decks.
Right.
I think right up there with it is too much focus.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're playing Inala the Archmage who like doubles, gives you another one of your, every time you cast a wizard, you get another wizard. It's copy, right? Or something like, or maybe it's one once. But the point is no focus on, okay, look at all these wizards I got. I got this wizard and that wizard and this wizard and that wizard. Well, okay, what are you going to do with them?
Well, also, like, you have an amazing dragon deck with all the best dragons, but no ramp.
Yeah.
Or you know what we see more than anything? No card draw.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Like a storm deck with no card draw.
You have no cards.
A storm deck with no card draw is the worst deck you can build. You're just going to be like, I cast 3 spells, and now I storm counts 3, and I have no more cards in my hand.
Right. I mean, that is something that a lot of people, so they overcommit to a theme, right? That's basically what this is. Too focusing too hard. You're overcommitting. So all you care about is this word on this card. You don't care about what, you just want that word to be on that card, or you want it to be this type of spell that you're slinging. And so a lot of times, I would have to agree with Jeff. By far, the biggest thing that always goes by the wayside, because again, a lot of people are like, oh, well, I mean, you start with 7 cards in your hand, you draw 1 a turn, like, why do I need more card draw than that? Well, if you have certain kinds of decks, like Storm decks or Spellslinger decks or Dragon decks,
Or any deck.
yeah, or you have dragons that cost 10 mana, well, if you don't have a way to get a lot of mana out quickly, either via drawing or going and digging for it out of your deck, your 10 cost dragon doesn't do diddly in your hand.
And there is decks that are going to make
cool.
you discard those cards in your hand.
You're right.
How are you going to replace those?
Right. Yeah. So I mean, there's to give you an idea, and now, so I want you guys to know, I did this only because I'm trying to win Commander League. I again attempted to do a Windfall Notion Thief combo to try to draw 28 cards in 1 turn. All 3 of the players at the table looked at me and you're like, "You're a horrible person." I said, "Listen, I said it before I even cast this Windfall out of my hand. This is a mean thing to do, but I'm trying to win. I want to win so badly. I don't care if you guys think less of me." Now, good thing one of our buddies who is playing in the league also, he was in the pod, and he's actually able to kill my Notion Thief at instant speed and kept that from happening. So everyone got to draw cards. But that is a
The
classic
hero everybody needed.
Yeah, not the one I wanted, but definitely the one that the table needed. So everyone got to draw cards. But imagine if everyone else had 0 cards and I had 28 in my hand and you had no way to draw except for 1 a turn. What are you doing for the rest of the game? Like, what are you doing? Like, and so that's the thing is, by far, I would probably say card draw then ramp are the 2 things that when someone over focuses on a theme, always are the 2 things missing the most.
And then within that, I know this is mostly on building the deck, but you got to think about the timing of the build of your deck, right? So one of the things that you want to be kind of smart about is if like you're playing a deck and you get to turn 5, what typically happens turn 5 and 6?
Usually a lot of commanders come out turn 5 and 6.
That's board wipe territory, right?
Oh yeah, board wipe.
You're in board wipe territory. So what you need to do is you need to have those draw engines to go, okay, well, I'm not going to necessarily play myself all the way out. My focus needs to understand that at certain points along the game, I need to have a retool moment. I need to be able to refill my hand, wait, let's see what the table does, and then I'll respond to it.
Right. You might need to have some recursion in your deck if you
Absolutely.
Or protect, some protection stuff. Like
But
my
not
stuff
too
needs
much.
indestructible.
I've seen people run like 5 recursion, and they're like, well, there's certain guys I really want to get back. Dude, that's if you're doing a theme deck, that's too much recursion. Unless it's a recursion deck, and then great.
That brings up another point of too much focus, is when you have too much of a need of a card in the 99,
Yes.
or a couple cards in the 99.
Yeah.
You can't focus on just a couple cards. You have to be okay if you never see those.
Right. It's same thing with your commander.
Yep.
I mean, I think I've seen Reese cost 12 mana,
Yep.
maybe 14 before you guys. You have to be able to play the game without the commander.
Well, he has to always be an odd number. So it'd be, I think, 13.
13?
Yeah,
Okay.
13.
But
'Cause he's 2 and 1.
that is our next point too. Too dependent on the commander.
Right.
If your deck will not run without your commander, you probably shouldn't build it.
Right.
So this is something that I've kind of noticed with the pre-cons they've been building. The pre-cons that they've been building recently, we're going to kind of not count the Final Fantasy one. I've only seen them played twice now. But the ones that they did for Tarkir, very strong if the commander's out.
I would say it's not.
And it's something that, let me finish real quick and I'll let you. So it's something that I feel like is kind of a trap for new players if they're getting into the game because they're going to buy these Tarkir precons and then they're realizing really quick sometimes like, oh, if I don't have my commander out, they don't really do as much as I need them to do.
The Mardu mobilized deck is definitely like that.
Well, and the white, green, black one with the hit with your butt instead of your attack. She's like, there's only like 2 creatures in the whole deck, and she's one of them that make you do, and so that is something that
because a lot of them have defender, and I think she lets things not have defender.
she lets you attack. She lets you deal
Like
combat damage with
Arcady.
your defense.
a lot of them have 0 power. That's
That's what it is. A lot of them have 0 power. They don't do anything.
But don't
or one,
completely
so.
ignore those decks because sometimes
Right.
you can. Let's not forget Kalia. Kalia is absolutely a deck. Without your commander, it's not going to do much.
Right.
But your whole deck is designed to protect Kalia when you cast her so that you can do the gross stuff. So
you only
just
have a
know
handful
what you're
of things
doing,
that
though.
you.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
You have a handful of things that you're trying to get out.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is trying to protect her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it's one of those things where if you're deck is very dependent on your commander. You're on that kind of focus where your commander is, I have to have my commander for this to really work. I would encourage looking for what we call a secret commander or a second commander that you can have in the deck that does something very similar that allows you to not have to rely on just your commander being out. For example, with the Mardu deck, they made another Zergo that also very much cares about the mobilize mechanic, and he does something very cool where he says that human warriors tokens that you have, tokens you have don't have to be sacrificed at your end turn. So he allows you to make all these tokens, and then you don't have to sack them.
Well, he's not in the deck.
He's not in the deck, but he's the second one that is same colors, also cares about mobilize.
Yeah, he's in the set. Go get him and put him in there.
And it's a great secret or second commander, what do you want to call, for the deck that allows you to still care about all the mobilize mechanics without it only having your commander out that matters. And so that's something that a lot of times people take for granted is you can have in your 99 a second commander, quote unquote, as we call it.
And you may need to have two strategies. One, if you can have your commander. But if I can't have my commander, what can I do with the things in here that's
right?
I can still do something.
Yeah.
If I have a commander who brings out lots of token creatures, right? Well, if he's dead, what can I do with these? Maybe you need aristocrats.
How about Atraxa? So Atraxa is a good example, right?
Yeah.
If you can't get your planeswalkers working, you can put counters on Atraxa and just go in and attack. Like but I don't spend a lot of effort on that. But I have a few cards in there that support my main game plan, but can also do that in a pinch.
Yeah.
They can also threaten in different ways. Another thing that we don't actually have on here, which I think is really important, although you guys certainly could disagree, that'd probably make it for a better podcast. Don't build your deck to your specific meta alone. Like, build your deck so that it can function if you take it somewhere else.
Well,
because that meta can flip real fast.
Well, it depends on what your meta is. Some people's meta is, I have 3 friends I play Commander with every day, every week.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't go anywhere. I don't do anything else. You gotta have to focus on that.
But if you build your deck well, it will function in all those different metas. And what it will allow is when those, because a lot of times when you're building the meta, what happens is someone shows up with a new deck and they win. Why do they win? Because you're not prepared for any of that. Instead, if you build your deck well, not for a specific meta, it will function the majority of the time. You will ultimately win more games, and you won't get killed out of nowhere when someone steps outside the meta with a new deck.
Yeah,
I mean possibly. It depends on your meta.
Well,
yeah, because the other thing
that's
is too,
my advice.
Some people have a CEDH meta where it's just like, yeah, no, you don't need to make that any better. That'll just destroy everybody.
Well, that's power level. That's not really what I'm talking about. It's like if your meta has a lot of counter spells in it, so you build your deck all around like avoiding counter spells with what's the white human card that you cannot cast spells on my turn. There's a bunch of
Grand Abolisher.
Grand Abolisher. So like you build a whole bunch of Grand Abolisher effects in your deck because, well, your meta counters everything, so now you want to be able to do things on your turn. But as soon as they come with a deck that doesn't have a lot of counter spells, you're almost guaranteed to lose because you have all these dead cards in your deck. So what I'm suggesting is you take meta into account a little bit, but just build a well-rounded deck.
Don't over-focus on trends in your...
Yes.
Yeah. I get that, but again, if you're only playing with 3 guys, then focus on those 3 guys.
Murder them constantly.
But the other thing that I see often is somebody will build a deck and they're like, look how cool this is. Look at all these things I made. Cool, what's your win con? Are we going to just play for 5 hours while you manipulate the board? And...
Every enchantment deck.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
Eventually I'll have enough creatures to kill you.
And waiting for people to scoop because they are tired of playing with you is not a win con.
Yeah, it's not a win condition because if you play against me, that will never happen.
Unless you read that book.
No, he is stubborn. He will not just...
I will force you to tell me how you win and make you show me.
How to lose friends and aggravate people.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have one that kind of couples with this. I have one where your win con is too complicated. So I've seen this before where someone's
and they make a mistake and it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's either that or like, for example, they have one card in there and the only reason why it's in there is because it's part of a 5-piece win con. It's like, well, what else does it do? Oh no, it's only in there for that. Well, why does your win con take 5 other pieces to work? Well, because I have 4 other ones and they're also 5 to 6. It's like, geez Louise, dude, like,
Yeah, 20 of your cards are designed to just work with
One
more
win
specific
condition. Yeah,
elements.
yeah. It's like
Thassa's Oracle is a good example of like somebody will put in Thassa's Oracle, demonic consultation. Okay, cool. What do you do if you don't get demonic consultation? Well, I tutor for it. What if I counter your tutor?
what if I counter your demonic consultation when it's on the stack for your Thassa's Oracle? How do you win after that? Oh, I
Recursion.
I scoop and I lose. Okay, okay. Well, then,
Well, my point
that's
is,
an issue.
in black blue, there's at least 5, 6, 7, 8 ways to trigger a Thassa's Oracle.
Yeah.
There are other ways. Don't just have the one that's the easiest or the cheapest or what. Have alternate win cons.
Yeah.
Don't just have one, because then it's like, oh, you countered it. I can't win now.
Yeah, like, and that's the other thing too is, again, Thassa's Oracle is not the only one that cares about you not having cards in your library to win. There's Jace's, Planeswalkers that do it. There's Lab Maniac. There's a card that cares about having exactly 13 cards in your hand at the beginning of your upkeep and you win the game.
Yep.
If you're drawing a lot of cards, there's a good chance you could win with that.
So, so let's talk about that for 1 second. Why do you're talking no win cons, but and we've talked about it a little bit where you need different abilities to win, but you need some different win cons in there too, because when you sit down at a table, the other players are going to have weaknesses in their deck.
Right.
How much ability do you have to transition and take advantage of those weaknesses? Because you might see right off the bat when you're playing your dragon deck, okay, I don't need 5 different dragons. I need someone's playing an artifact deck. There's one dragon I know I need.
Right.
Because I'm going to go take all their artifacts. You have to be able to think through your head, what is my win con against these specific players? And can I take advantage of it? And they might be cards where they only work 1 in 100, but they still fit your theme. They still work off of each other, but every once in a while, they're going to do something amazing. And it's good to have those in there too, as long as they have their primary effect fits your theme.
Right.
So no win cons, you got to have some. Now, sometimes there may be some decks where you really don't need to call out your win con. If you're playing a green creature deck and you just slowly build to bigger and bigger creatures, it's going to do it itself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But
most decks that aren't pure aggro are going to need some win con.
Right. I mean, a lot of times with these creature, tribal decks with like, dinosaurs or dragons or soldiers or, whatever, a lot of times the creatures are kind of, besides their abilities on them, a lot of times when you're hitting someone with 20, 30, 40 damage, or you can keep doing that over and over again, that's a pretty good way to, win. So even in those decks, great, I have my creatures that can win by just stomping over people. What's a secondary way I can win potentially that's not creature focused? Because what if someone puts out a propaganda ghostly prison? I got to pay 4 mana for one creature attacking.
Or they just keep board wiping.
Yeah,
so within that, let's let the viewers for a second just think, what does a dragon or dinosaur deck have as a needed function that could be used for something else?
Mana.
Yeah.
Heavy
they
mana.
have tons of
Yeah.
mana. So any of the win cons that require a lot of mana, even the one card ones, they're going to play really well in those decks.
Right.
Because you're going to have the mana to accomplish it.
And to bring it back up, like for example, a Villainous Wealth. That is a great secondary win con in a deck that has a lot of high mana cost creatures because you have 10, 12, 13, 14 mana out a lot of times. Well, getting to cast 10 spells from someone else's deck, 1, that sets them back because now they are missing 10 spells from their deck.
Right.
And 2, it sets you ahead, and it doesn't require you to have any of your creatures else to do that.
Right.
You just tap your 10, 12 mana. Great. I'm going to cast the next 10 cards off your library, and you can hit some crazy bangers that just, okay, great, I'm right back in this.
Yeah, Genesis Wave, all that type of stuff.
Right.
Even the ones that deal damage or make people discard stuff.
Yeah.
Where you pay into X. I mean, there's tons of stuff out there that you can do. But just think of what your deck is doing in order to accomplish its theme, and you'll probably have other ways of winning.
Right.
Jeff, when you won that first time with Simic Ascendancy, was that an early version of your Atraxa deck? I'm trying to remember which deck.
Oh, no, that was in my X-Spell deck.
X-Spell deck. And so I wasn't expecting it.
Right.
Because you're casting X spells. I'm looking at the Hydras you're bringing out.
I'm an aggressive aggro deck.
Yeah. And I'm like, so I'm focused on that. And while that, he's like, and I placed a Mythic Ascendancy, and he read what it did, and I've talked about this before, but it's like, okay, yeah. And then, like 3 turns later, he's like, my turn? Okay, I won. Wait, what? No, you're punching me in the face. No, I won.
Yeah.
It's
So I wasn't expecting it because it's an aggro deck.
yeah,
So-
and again, that's just an enchantment that just sits there and does something. A lot of times, going to avoid board wipes, because they're usually creature focused. There's not too many enchantment focused board wipes. If no one has enchantment removal targeted, a lot of times it's going to sit there the whole time. So it's one of those things where, is it technically 100% on theme for his deck? No, but is it a good win condition that couples well with the theme of his deck because of what it does by just its natural state of being on the board? Yeah, it's a great card to slide in there.
So a good example is like I talked about turn 5 and 6. If I'm in a Kindred deck, I'm worried because they might board wipe. That's typically where I'm going to play non-creature spells that can move me ahead. So like Sunbird's Invocation, which is 6 mana. I'll play that out on 5 or 6 because if they wipe the board, I know that when we start back up, I have an advantage.
Right.
Because every time I cast a spell, I'm getting another spell for free. And so your deck, and that's in my dragon deck, even though it's not a dragon.
Right.
And it's there because it just fits with big mana.
Right.
And so it sometimes it saves my hide.
Right. So I mean, it's this idea of not having any win cons or having win cons that take too much to get to. You have to
or only 1 or 2.
Yeah, or only
Right.
having 1 or 2 win cons. Like you can't be solely relying on hitting 1 or 2 cards out of a 99 card deck every single time. And I don't care if you say I have tutors to get there. Great, you tutor for it, then once you get it, you go to cast it, someone counters it. What are you going to do now?
Also,
You just wasted 2 cards, and now you're down.
also you're very limited because now when you play that deck, everybody knows exactly what you're doing.
Right.
It's not hard for them to be ready for it. You don't have. You're just doing one thing.
Right.
A good example of that is, again, this is more of a CEDH one, but I see it. The Lion's Eye Diamond, Underworld Breach, Brainstorm combo.
Right.
Right.
And, okay, well, they play Fact or Fiction, 2 of the cards are in the graveyard. Yeah, but I can get it back. I'm going to blah, blah, blah. And then whatever they were going to do to get it back, you counter it.
Right.
Right.
Now all 3 cards are there. What are you going to do?
Now I will say when you're playing a CEDH, one win that you're going for every time works. In casual, you're playing against a whole group of people. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You could play CDH with a group of people, but a lot of times.
But my point is that's a 3-card combo plus the cards you need to get them back if they end up in your graveyard.
Yeah. And
How many of your cards are you spending
Yeah.
to get that 3-card combo in a more casual game?
And how many times have we seen, even if they have all that stuff and everything goes right, do you do it in the right order?
Right.
Because like Johnny talked about earlier, your win con's so complicated, you're going to screw it up 50% of the time.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So win cons are a very big part of a reason why some people's decks don't work. They don't have enough.
Right.
They're too complicated.
Right.
They don't have any.
Yeah, they don't have any. I mean, it is a hard thing. And the other thing too is on the too many. I've seen people that have so many different win cons, but there's all the cards in their deck only are good for that win con. So they have like 20 cards that are only good if you have these other cards out. It's like dude, you gotta clean it up a little bit. You gotta get the win cons a little bit more consistent, because what that does then is you're trying to get, well, I got this one, so that means I have to get this one and this one, but then I also have this one, so I could try to get this one, and it's like you have too many. It's like the ice cream shop analogy. When someone goes into an ice cream shop, chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry, they're happy. You show them 75 options, they take 4 hours and they don't know what they want, and then they're always sad because they feel like they picked the wrong thing. Just chocolate, vanilla, or ice cream. I mean, chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry ice cream.
So the last thing I had, and if you guys had things you wanted to add, let me know. But pet cards, and I don't mean like you can't put pet cards in your deck.
Yeah, because I have to have Teferi's protection in there.
But I've seen people put.
That's a good card, though. We're talking about cards that aren't good that you want to put in there. Pet cards.
Yeah.
I've seen people put pet cards in that actually work against what they're trying to do.
Oh yeah, non-bows.
Yeah, they non-bow themselves. I will say this. I think you can try to slide 1 or 2 in there that
Yeah.
are, it's like, great, it doesn't really
But
help
don't
my
get
theme.
so attached to
Yeah.
them that you won't take them out.
Right, that's the downside, is because then you're like, but I like it. It's so pretty. It's my precious. I love it.
You're like, it costs 15 mana, let it go.
Yeah. Well, and even furthermore, sometimes it's like this was like the first card I got in this deck when I built this first, and I love it.
I do that.
Yeah, it's like I gotta put it. Like I have to figure out a way to get it in there. It's like,
Yeah.
do you though? Like,
Yeah.
And I've seen people that have a deck full of pet cards, and so then everything else is diluted.
I
Yeah.
do that with, you know what I do that with? Planeswalkers, and it probably gets a lot of you guys too. Like in my dragon deck, I have 2 Planeswalkers in there. They're terrible. There has never been a time where I've been like, I want to cast these cards.
but you can't take them
But
out.
they're kind of expensive cards, and they fit in a dragon deck, so they're still in there.
Right.
That's also true for my dinosaur deck. Like, it's true for a bunch of my decks that I have planeswalkers that are terrible,
But you just love planeswalkers.
but they're
You can't-
expensive.
Yeah.
And I have them in my collection, and I'm like, they fit in this deck, so they're going in there. So
And what's
I
funny
break
is
that
for
rule.
me, planeswalkers are the opposite of my pet card.
Yeah.
For me, I'll be like, this planeswalker, he would fit in here. Like, it's pretty good. This ability works with it. This ability, and if I can get the ult, like it fits with everything.
Yeah.
But at first cuts, he's going.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Yeah, for me, I'll tell you right now, for red, lightning bolt is always really hard for me to take out because it's just, to me, it's just the cheesiest, goofy card. I love it. I love lightning bolt. 1 drop, instant, deal 3 damage to any target. It's great. I love it. Vampire Nighthawk, another one. 1 black, flying, lifelink, death touch, vampire. Love it. It's so hard for me to take out of black decks when I'm building it. But yeah, there are pet cards that you will develop either because of memories you have with that card or times you've played it.
And if your deck works, keep them in there. But if
Yeah.
your deck's not working,
Sometimes that's the reason.
I should
it's either
remove
the
those
reason or it's
planeswalkers.
taking the place of the things you need in there to make it work.
Right.
Yeah.
So don't be so attached to your pet cards that you're not willing to do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
absolutely.
For sure, absolutely.
I think
So-
those are good commander deck building mistakes to watch out for.
Do you have any others, or you?
So I just have my pro tips.
Okay.
So the big pro tip that I would say is you need to find cards that are and or cards. I like to call them. This is a card that does this and this for my deck. Or this is a card that does this or this depending on what I need. So I'm going to bring out a couple examples. So we brought up the soldier deck. Esper Sentinel. White and red is Commander Mustard. White and red are kind of known as not being the best when it comes to having a draw engine. Esper Sentinel, 1 drop, 1/1, human soldier. So it is a soldier. Boom, checked 1 box. We're on the soldier train. Whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card unless that player plays X, where X is Esper Sentinel's power. Slowing down my opponents by making them pay tax. Also potentially getting me a draw. This fills 3 different things. Now granted, it's only 1, but you know what's great when you have a really well-tuned tribal deck? I have gotten Esper Sentinel up to a 9/9. Who wants to pay 9 mana
No one.
to
no
not
one
let
will
me
ever
draw
pay.
1 card?
No, you would pay it.
Out of spite, maybe I would
Yeah.
pay it once. But
I don't think so.
I mean, I will say this: I have gotten Lizard to pay I have gotten Lizard to pay casting tax because it's just me. So I feel special that he's done that. It's also an a-hole move in my opinion, Lizard, but he did it.
Because he's always like, he
I'll
tells
never-
everybody else,
I'll never pay.
I
it.
never pay.
And then
never
it
pay.
comes to me, and he's like, you know what, Sloan? Just because it's you, I'm going to pay.
Do you know why?
No.
He has one single stipulation of when he will pay. When it's funny.
Yeah, it's true. But Esper Sentinel is a great card that is this and this card. So it's on theme. It is a soldier, and it makes me draw. The or versions, for example, are these lands that are also spells on the other side. So this is a board wipe, or it is a mana if I need the mana.
Those are great.
Right. So these are cards that fills 2 slots of it's going to help protect me, or it's going to help give me mana depending on what I need in the situation.
And like
I need
adventure cards could be or and.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the last one I wanted to bring up is the new adventure lands that just came out in the Final Fantasy set. If you haven't seen these,
I got
look
to
them
do
up.
the blue one in pre-release.
Yeah.
I milled somebody's 40-card deck for half their cards. Their face.
was just, and these are cool because adventures, you cast the adventure side and you put it into exile, and then at a later time you can then play it for the other side. Well, this is now
on the adventure, but if it's a land, can't you play it right away?
exactly.
Yeah.
So now this is I get to cast a spell and I get to put a land into play
Unless
with that
your spell gets countered.
Unless your spell gets countered, which is sad. You can counter land, so that's just kind of cool. But yeah, so this is another one this is an and card. This is a spell that helps put me ahead, and it is a land drop for me when I need mana. So Finding cards that fit multiple roles for your deck are, I think, some of the key things that people kind of forget that you can do. You can find cards that are on theme and help you in multiple ways to help your deck be better and win.
If your deck needs more lands,
Yeah.
and you're like, but I need more engine, look for the ones that are lands on one side and something else on
And
the other.
I've got one to add to that seems a little off, but clones. Cloning effects can be really good for that way because you could choose to clone whatever you need. You need a mana producer? There's one out there, clone it. You need to destroy something? Clone something that destroys when it enters. Like there are different, and clone might not be the only way because like Sakashima only does your stuff. But there are those type of spells where when it comes down, you're going to pick what it does. And those are very powerful in this fashion.
And the last thing is, too, there are also lands that are two different types of land on one card. So you have blue on one side, one on the other, or white, and then red.
Now, those are getting pricey.
They are getting pricey,
Are they
unfortunately.
really have a ton of those?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
They're
the
not
thing
very
that's
good.
nice about that is the fact that
They're great.
they don't come in tabbed.
They're the new dual lands.
Yeah, they don't come in tabbed, and it's like, okay, I need a white mana at this time. I'm going to flip it over and play it for its white
Jeff.
mana side now.
I want them.
I have them in my decks. I'm just telling you, I've played them, and now remember, I play a lot of 4 and 5 color decks, and they're only okay.
In a 4 or 5 color deck, you need almost every land to produce
But
at least 2 types.
Yeah,
of mana,
two colors. So there's
which
cards
is when
that
I play Blood Moon.
Yeah, there's cards that allow you to fill multiple slots. So don't forget that just because you're trying to do a spell slinger theme doesn't mean that you can't have a cantrip or something that fills multiple roles for you in this deck. So that's the big thing that people sometimes forget is that you can have a card that fills multiple roles, it helps you out multiple ways, and it still is on theme.
Yep. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So those are just some tips we have for what might help you get over the hump if you have your decks not doing what you want them to do. So that's about all the time we have for this week, though.
Yep.
I want to thank everybody for watching. Don't forget, you can always find us. New episodes come out every Thursday, 6 a.m. on YouTube and on streaming for podcasts. Check out our website, commanderspod.com. You can email us, cast@commanderspod.com, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, ideas.
Yeah.
Just want to chit-chat, give us a little email. If you want to support us, patreon.com/commanderspod. We'd really appreciate it. I got some stuff we want to do for our Patreon supporters coming up, and we want to keep doing better content, getting better equipment, doing more stuff. So, and just last thing, don't forget, play bold, swing wide, and don't forget to pay the one.